If your bow has a Garmin XERO scope, here are a few basic tips to help get the scope mounted. To start with, you'll want to install the cord, and that happens on the left side of the scope. There's a small port, and then you've got your cord. You'll notice on the cord there's a little swing arm, and that's going to lock the cable in place once you get it installed. So slide the cord in and then flip that swing arm up, and that will lock the cord in place. Now let's get your Garmin scope mounted. You'll notice on the bottom of the scope it has a clamp that's on the left-hand side of the scope, and then also a locking knob that's on the right-hand side of the scope. When you put the scope on, you'll want to mount the scope roughly in the middle of the rail. If your bow has scope struts on the rail, you'll want to make sure that knob on the right-hand side has enough clearance. Takes an 1/8 inch Allen wrench, and you'll tighten the nuts down on either side. You can start by tightening them by hand and then snug them up with the wrench. And you want to get these good and secure, and I usually alternate just to make sure that the bracket doesn't bind up. It's good and tight on the left-hand side. Now let's look at the locking knob on the right-hand side. For the locking knob on the right-hand side, again, you want to make sure that you've got plenty of clearance if your bow has a scope strut, but there is an 1/8 inch Allen screw in the bottom of that knob, and you want to make sure that this locks down, and you'll actually hear it click, and that's to make sure that you've got the needed torque setting on that, so that mount stays very firm and secure onto the scope rail. Then you've got a button, your activator button, that will make the scope operate. It will come with a push button on the one end and then a mounting bracket that you'll mount on the bow. You can run the wires a couple different directions. You want to make sure that you stay clear of the safety, that you don't impede the trigger box from coming back, and you also want to have access to your latch pins. Most people are going to like that bracket, that mounting bracket, somewhere right above the trigger so that it's very easy reach, pulling your finger up, hitting the button, activating the scope, and then you can reach back down for the trigger. So again, a variety of different ways to mount this cord depending on the model of bow that you have. Just again, make sure that you're staying clear of those needed areas. And that's how you mount the Garmin XERO scope. For any additional detailed information, please go to the Garmin website.